wants to read a rough poem about rough characters, and I want to bring her right up here to do some rough stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only host of the cafe on Tuesday night, every Tuesday night during the week. Yes, Tuesdays are during the week. Ladies and gentlemen, Janet Kuypers.
Thank you very, very much. I am hoping that I can get somebody like a John Boy over there, maybe, who will be able to help me sing for this first poem. I actually wrote a poem where I actually sing along, so I'm hoping he can get on up here. Thank you, John. Yeah, get on. He's like, let me see what I'm doing first. But this is a piece that is called Made Any Difference. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. So I'm at my bar, my favorite hangout, and I just overheard from people talking that another guy who's always here in the past few months has had a few strokes. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Now this is just grapevine. I just heard snippets, but I need to see him put in my 2 cents. Da 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 da. He went out for a smoke, and even though I don't, I walked up to him after he lit up. I reached my hand out for his cigarette. He offered me a new one, but I wanted his. Da 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 da. Then holding his smoke, I told him that I'd heard. I spoke of his wife, asked about his kids, and I don't really want to get on a high horse here, but we care for him. We want him happy. Da 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 da. He said I was right, and he'd take some time off. And then he saw his smoke and said that he should quit. Da 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 da. Then handed me his smoke and then walked away. Da 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 da. I stood there a while, sucking nicotine, wondering if I made any difference. Da 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 da. Da, 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 da. Thank you.
There's lipstick on my cigarette.
Sorry about that. I had to smoke it. I'm sorry. I have chosen to read a few pieces from the book, Close Cover Before Striking. And yeah, thank you. And I'm hoping if I can pull this off, and I don't really want to put this in the wet ground, but there I go.
Put it on.
He's going to take it for me. Thank you very much. I'm hoping that if I can pull this off, these can go into an audio CD release. We'll see how that works. I've got poems about a ton of different topics here, and they're all happy because there are a lot of pieces about violence and stuff in this piece. So this first piece is called No Consequences. The average child, watching the average amount of television in their lifetime, witnesses 8,000 murders by the time they leave elementary school. By the time they are 18 years old, they witness 200,000 acts of violence. And they laugh when they hear their leading man say, "Consider this a divorce," and then pull the trigger. Or, "Do you feel lucky, punk?" Suddenly there's no consequence to violence, no pain, no remorse. We're the MTV generation. We feel nor highs nor lows. We've learned life by watching it, not living it. Have you killed people? Yeah, but they were all bad. How funny. What wit. They witnessed 200,000 acts of violence. What are we teaching them? Suddenly, there's no consequence. Thanks. Thank you, thank you. And a lot of the pieces that are in this book that are happy pieces I actually read on WZRD radio, so there are a ton of different styles of pieces in this thing about ice cream and my mom and stuff like that, but I have a couple of pieces about dealing with somebody that is on the verge of suicide. This is a letter for 1495 number 2, and it starts with a quote from their letter of theirs. I haven't worked in 8 months. I can't. The despair and shame and guilt and sorrow and hopelessness and despair are immense. My family thinks I'm jerking off. They're tired of me being a problem, and they don't have the wherewithal to help me. What more can anyone else say? Don't die. Get some help. Every time I felt the despair and pain, I knew it would go away, and it would. I knew there was always hope, somewhere, and I would be fine. I feel so lost now. I don't know what to offer you. I feel a little piece of your death in every letter, only wishing I could take your pain and pull it into me and make the pain go away, like I always do. But I know I can't. But I don't want to see you go, damn it. I don't want to see you slipping through my pages, through my fingers, through all the letters that I get from you. My hands are tied, and the despair and shame and guilt and sorrow and hopelessness and despair are immense. I want to help you. I don't want to be a victim, too, by having to watch you die and not being able to do anything about it. Don't die. Get some help. Don't die. Get some help. Thank you. It's got to do with this book. And this one, I have no idea where this one came from, but it is called Sadness. She looked down at the little kittens in the box. Her neighbor was trying to give them away. Why did she have to knock on the door now? Why did she have to come along now? Her husband might get upset if she talks to her neighbor too long. Something might give him away. Her neighbor keeps pushing the box under her nose, trying to make her look at them. If you look at them just once, her neighbor was saying, you won't be able to resist them. She finally opened her red eyes and looked down at the box. There were 4 gray kittens and 1 white one. She looked at the white kitten. It wasn't just white. It was a stark white, as if it had never been touched by the outer world. Suddenly, she imagined that kitten grew and jumped out of the box into the air, landing on her face and tearing off her flesh. She imagined the bright white fur turning a dirty deep red as the silence was broken by her screams. She closed her eyes, then opened them. The red in her eyes contrasted with the paleness of her skin. A bead of sweat ran down her face. No, thank you. I can't have them around. I'm sorry. Thank you. As I said, this book has a bunch of different pieces. This one is about a relationship gone awry. Oh yeah, and they break up with you and they get back together with you and they say they hate you and they say they love you and you have to deal with all this nonsense. Well, I've got a piece in this one. This is called Resurrecting the Dead. Do I ask for too much? Do I expect too much? I know it will be the same as it always is. Something will go wrong and you'll come crawling back. Do you expect me to pick up the pieces again? Am I supposed to watch it all fall apart and then make everything right again? You never give me the benefit of the doubt. You think someone else is better. Well, maybe I'm cocky, but I know better. And soon, your world will crumble again, and I'll come back, because I have to. Resurrecting the dead. Thanks. And if anybody's looking at this thing on my notepad, everybody's like, how do you say your name in Kuypers? I'm like, Kuypers, like the Kuiper Belt in astronomy, like to Kuypers schnapps. You know, it's like, it's Kuypers, it rhymes with Kuyper. And I'm like, I'm carrying this thing, I might as well have it on a thing to spell it out for everybody. This one is part of the Violence in America series in the book, and it is called Still No Answers. The parents refused to believe that their son would kill himself. It's not like our son. He wasn't a quitter. The police believed the blood on his shirt was from an act of violence he committed just before he went into his own garage and fell asleep. He wasn't willing to face the consequences of his violent actions. Maybe he killed someone. Maybe someone would come forward and put him in jail. No, his parents said, there must be foul play here. And they managed to have the case reopened when they discovered only trace amounts of carbon monoxide in his bloodstream. He was dead, or dying, before he got to the garage. The blood was probably from a struggle he had in trying to survive. This was murder, made to look like suicide. But who did this? Was their son's blood on his shirt? Did he suffer? Did he even die while he was in his own home? Still, no answers. Thank you. I'm going to try to make things like, well, these are little bits of prose, and I'm trying to make them more, interesting. But this is a very, very short piece called Top of the Mountain. So we were in the car together, Lori driving, Sandy in the back seat, and the humidity from Southwest Florida night seeping in through the cracks in the car windows. And it was quiet for a moment, and the lull in the conversation prompted Lori to ask, if you had an Indian name, what would it be? And I was completely lost by the introduction of this question. I mean, where did it come from, and what kind of Indian name was she talking about? Sequoia? And then Sandy says, do you mean like fricking dogs? And Lori laughed, and she said, yes, a name like Running Bear or Soaring Eagle. So Sandy didn't think that fricking dogs should be her name, so she came up with Teacher of Children. And then I thought for a moment, tried to encapsulate my life in a catchy little phrase, and finally came up with One Who Rests at Top of Mountain. Lori then explained to us that the names were actually given to Indian boys as a rite of manhood by a mentor of theirs, often a grandfather figure, and the name was often a reminder to them of what they should become. So I changed mine to Patient One. But, looking back at that night, driving through the musty, sticky night, I still think it would be better to say that I shall rest at the top of the mountain. Thanks. This is the last one I was going to do from that book close cover before striking, and it is a prose piece. Why would I think of doing this when some of it is funny? This is called Brushes with Greatness. Like when I was leaving the Depeche Mode concert and I saw the lead singer of Nights Are Ebb, I tapped his shoulder, and after I shook his hand, I said, I just wanted to tell you that you're awesome. What a stupid thing to say. His response was, well, thanks. But at least I shook his hand. Or when we were driving down Lakeshore Drive, it was December 23rd, years ago, and I saw a limo with the license plate Governor 1. I had to drive next to the limo, and there was Jim Edgar talking on the phone in the back. It was only after we passed when I realized that I was wearing, for Christmas, a red baseball cap with reindeer antlers and bells on it. I was so embarrassed. Or when I met the soap opera star from Days of Our Lives, he was signing autographs. His name on the show was Shane. Mr. Shaughnessy or something is his name. There was this fat 40-year-old woman from Tolono, Illinois, standing in line and screaming every time she thought she saw a glimpse of him. He signed a newspaper clipping of mine because I wrote articles about Days of Our Lives, and then he took a picture with me. My mother thinks in that photo we look like we're on our honeymoon. And in the first grade, when the weatherman Harry Volkman from Channel 2 News came to our school, and I met him because I made a card that said, Columbus discovered America in 1492, and I discovered a weatherman when I discovered you. Or like when I was almost in a band that opened for Smashing Pumpkins. I sang in this band, but I couldn't work with them because I lived out of town. Oh, I guess that's not a good one, since I didn't get to meet the pumpkins or anything, but at least I saw the show. And then I photographed the lead singer of REM. I was September. I was only wearing spandex shorts and a t-shirt, actually a work tour concert shirt from REM, while everybody else was wearing denim jackets. Michael Stipe was walking through a forest preserve with a flock of people around him. I couldn't get to him, but I wanted to photograph him, so I looked up ahead and I saw an empty picnic table. I ran, sprung up on top of it, and I started shooting. He looked up at me and waved. Later, when he was just about to leave, I got real close, took more pictures. I was right next to him. Or when I talked to the lead singer of King Missile after their first show at the Metro. I told him it was a good show, and he thanked me, and then I said that they should have played Gary and Melissa. Yeah, we keep forgetting that one, he said. And then he looked over at the t-shirt stand, pointed kind of blankly, and then said, You know, maybe we should have some t-shirts so we could actually make a lot of money. I laughed, but then tried to walk away. Like when Joe told me, took me to the engineering open house, and his wooden bridge won the first place for holding the most weight. Or when Lori brought me to the dark room and showed me how to dodge and burn. Or Bridget. Or Pat. Or when I won the American Legion Award in the 8th grade. Or when I published my first book. Or when I sang in a coffee house and everyone actually applauded. Or when at the end of a counseling session at the retreat weekend, Operation Snowball, I got a note from a participant there thanking me for caring. Or when I was happy. Thank you very much. And give it up once for Trump Fest. God, Dave, give it up. Woo! Thank you.
Thank you, Janet.